Hi, I'm James from Tecantis, where we provide tools to enable you to bring the power of location intelligence into Microsoft Fabric and your Power BI reports. In this video, we're going to have a look at how we can add items of different types onto the map at the same time. So I'm going to start off with circles. Let's add Icon Map Pro onto our report canvas. And we'll resize it to fill the entire width of the report. And then I'm going to drag on all of the items that we need to be able to display circles on the map. So we've got our unique ID, so we have a unique reference for every individual circle that we're going to put on the map. We've got the latitude, we've got the longitude, and we've got the circle size. And what we get, of course, is a circle for each of those IDs on the map. And then just to show you what the data looks like, we've got this item type just to show that these rows represent circles. That field's not used in the map in any way. We've got a unique ID, the latitude, the longitude, the circle size. And then the other fields in our data that we haven't yet added on to Icon Map Pro are all blank for these rows. Now, if we want to add on other types of item onto the map, such as images, then we need to go into the data layer settings and turn on images. You'll then notice that we get the validate map warning up here to say that we've turned on images, but Icon Map Pro hasn't found any rows of data yet that relate to images, because all of the rows that we've added so far relate to drawing circles, because they've got that longitude, latitude, and circle size, the fields that Icon Map Pro needs to be able to draw circles. So to add images onto the map, first of all, I'm going to populate our data set with some additional rows for images. So if I scroll down, we've still got the circle rows being drawn on here, but then in addition, we've got more rows which just relate to images. So we've got an ID, and we've got a latitude, and we've got a longitude. And we still don't have any images drawn on the map because we haven't yet told it what image to draw. Now we can either do that by having a field in our data set with a URL of an image, or in this case, I'm going to go through into the data layers and I'm going to use Icon Map Pro's built-in icon library. So let's expand out images, choose icon library, and just select a random icon from the library. And then you'll see overlaid on top of our circles, we've also got these images. Let's make them a little bit bigger to stand out. Let's make them a redder shade as well. Now, how Icon Map Pro decides whether to draw an image or a circle on the map depends on what fields have been populated. So if I jump back to page 2 where we can see all the rows of data so far, Icon Map Pro will evaluate each individual row of data and decide what type of item that row of data represents based on which fields we've populated. So in this case, every single row has a unique ID. Every single row has a longitude and latitude because we need to know where to be able to place our data on the map. And for images, those are the only 3 fields populated because we've chosen an image from the icon library. The only thing that's different for the circles is you'll see that the rows relating to circles have a circle size. That means that in order to draw the images, the circle size field must not contain any data. It has to have a null or a blank value for Icon Map Pro to know that it's not a circle. So let's add one more type of item onto our map. Let's import in a shapefile and have a look at how we can have a choropleth map with our custom shapes shaded by data from our Power BI dataset, and then overlaid on top of that we'll have our circles and we'll have our images. So let's go through into data layers again. So far we've got circles and we've got images. Let's also turn on our GeoJSON shapefile from data. And again we get the warning because we've turned this layer on and we haven't yet provided it with any data. And actually what we can do is we can click the Show Data Configuration Summary, and then this will give you a view of how IconMap Pro is evaluating all of those different rows of data. So you can see here that it's recognized that we've got 989 rows relating to circles. We've got 33 rows relating to icons, where we've passed in the ID, longitude and latitude, but no circle size. And it's also warning us that we've turned on that shapefile layer, but we haven't actually provided any data into that yet. But let's go ahead and import the shapefile anyway. So I'm just going to import in a local file. So I'm just going to drag in a shapefile containing the local authorities in London. Drag that in. We'll import it in. And then let's turn on our shape rows. And then I also need to be able to provide the feature reference in here to be able to link our shapes back to the Power BI data. And then of course that means I also need to be able to apply conditional formatting. So in my table here I've got an amount field, so let's just create a gradient based on that amount. Let's give it a different set of colors so that it stands out on our map a little bit better. I'll zoom in there, you'll see that we've got our choropleth shaded map, we've got our points and we've got our circles. And then just to clarify what that looks like, you'll see here that we've got our rows relating to shapes with an ID, no longitude and latitude, no circle size, but it does have a feature reference. So when we want to relate our rows of data to a shape on the map, then we just provide the ID field and the feature reference, and all the other items must be blank. And that's how IconMap Pro knows that it's a row that relates to one of our shapes. Now, the only other data that I've got for every single row in the data set is a local authority. And we're not going to add that to the map. I'm just going to create a normal slicer using that local authority field. And then because every single row in our data set has a local authority field, I can quite happily go through and filter the map based on that common local authority field. So there we have it. In this case, we've only added 3 different types of object on the map at the same time, but you can see that we've got multiple circles, we've got all the local authorities in London, and then we've got images overlaid on top. Now, if you want to find more information on how to configure this, then head over to iconmappro.com, head into our documentation, and if you go down to data layers and this section here on combining multiple layers, it will give you, for all of the different types of item that IconMap Pro can put on the map, which of those fields need to be configured for IconMap Pro to recognize that it relates to that kind of item. So as you can see here, all of the different types of item that we can display on the map, so whether that's circles, heat maps, images, shapes, lines, hexagons, all of those different items can all be overlaid and shown on the same map at the same time. For more information and the full configuration options, you can find detailed instructions on our website, iconmappro.com. And if you still need help, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at support@tcantis.com.